Today, inshallah, we are going to learn how to optimize how we spend 1/3 of our life. Doctor, I want to talk about death. There is a correlation between people having an increased mortality rate and staying awake at night.
Cats, we love cats and they like to sleep all day and eat. You take a cat and you deny it sleep, it will die within 2 or 3 days.
How bad is scrolling on your phone before you sleep?
It's terrible. Causes emotional problems, sleep delay, because your brain is supposed to be winding down. You have to treat your sleep like a job, like it's your duty to fall asleep. And doctor, I have insomnia, I can't fall asleep. There's so many different reasons for it. Some people, because they're just so busy trying to focus on the next day. Well, the next day you have no control or power over it. So let it go. I have a bed, it's nighttime, it's a safe place, time for me to sleep. And if you can do that, you and the king are the same.
Oh wow. You and the king are the same. Since we started making content for righteous and rich entrepreneurs, I've gotten so many messages from brothers who've been inspired and want help making money online. They're hungry for financial freedom so they can seek knowledge, do hijrah, and live life on their terms with Allah's permission. But here's the truth. I can't help you. I personally only work with 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs. With that said, there is one brother that I trust more than anyone else that helps beginners start their online businesses with Allah's permission. In fact, I've sent him dozens of brothers already, and time again, he's helped them make consistent money online. Look, I have a lot to lose by putting my name behind someone I don't have full confidence in. But this brother, I've vetted him and his team and his method. I trust him with Allah's permission. Which is why I'm ready to risk my 10-year plus reputation on telling you this brother, he will help you make money online, inshallah ta'ala. So if you're interested, go to the link below and you can apply for his mentorship. With that said, let's get back into the discussion. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Guys, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing you to Dr. Fawzi Katranji. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Wallah, very good. Nice to meet you, alhamdulillah.
So Dr. Fawzi is, mashallah, a board level certified physician who has an expertise, is a specialist in the UK, would be a consultant when it comes to sleep medicine as well as other things. So today, inshallah, we are going to learn how to optimize how we spend 1/3 of our life.
That'd be great.
So Sheikh, the first question I have for you, doctor, is, look, many people I know, including myself, often complain about having spent 7 to 8 hours in bed, yet still waking up feeling tired and not optimal. Why is this the case, despite having got the hours in?
So as a doctor, right, there's different ways to hear that question. I would say as a doctor, the concern I have is what we call hypersomnia, that you're waking up and you're not refreshed, you're still sleepy.
Yes.
Because there's tiredness and there's sleepiness, and we try to distinguish the two. But if you're waking up and you're not feeling refreshed, there's a couple things that we start to think about. We think about something physiologic going on, right? So are you snoring? Are you stopping breathing? Is there any medication that you're on? Is there any issues with your heart, your blood sugar? Because all of them play a direct role in your sleep and your sleep quality. But then there's other things that I think are more common. A lot of people say, well, doc, my bedtime is 7-8 hours, but my sleep time is 4 to 5 hours.
So that happens to me often.
And that is one of we call it insufficient sleep. Even though you say, I've been in bed for 8 hours, you probably didn't, sleep for 8 hours. So it's insufficient sleep. But the workup, the conversation only begins, So there's so many different possibilities. I ask about weight. I ask about diet. I ask about snoring. I ask about movement. And I ask about how you feel. And, in medicine, we get 15 minutes to kind of put it all together for you. So it's a bit of a challenge.
So I've been looking into sleep for a bit because I identified it as probably my biggest bottleneck in terms of my performance about 2 years ago. I realized, so I was one of those guys that took a lot of pride in not sleeping a lot.
Right.
So I'd be like, I can go 3 days and just take power naps and sleep 4 or 5 hours a day. And then it caught up with me. And I realized that, okay, this is a problem. And I found myself in like consistent brain fog and everything. So I did my best to try as a layperson to look into this matter as much as possible and help kind of diagnose it for myself. But I still feel like I'm not, like I'll do my best to, stop seeing blue light as early as possible before bedtime. I'll try and have the temperature low. I'll do all of these things. But I find that I still wake up not feeling refreshed. So as a thought experiment, I wonder if you could prompt me to see, unofficially, like diagnose me.
All right. So you're young and you're telling me, Doc, I don't need to sleep. I'm really good. I'm really proud of myself during the day. So I think my first question is, when do you start feeling sleepy?
So I would have these points in the day where I'm feeling tired, like usually after like maybe 14 hours of being awake. And then it's like a barrier that once I've overcome it, now I'm awake again. But I can tell that when I'm awake, I'm not at optimal level. I'm kind of like in a sky. Like it's like I'm floating.
Yeah.
I'm awake, but it's like I'm working on like some reserves.
Yeah. I think your body is telling you it's time to sleep and you're fighting it. It's kind of like you're hitting a wall. You hear that like in like people who are like marathon runners, like they're really tired and then all of a sudden they pass this point where, I don't know, they use up all their carbohydrates and then they just float and then they just keep going.
Yeah. It's
not their body isn't tired. It's just their body is, it's in motion. What stays in motion, unless it's stopped. So you want to understand that is the point where you have to kind of listen to your body. And there's a point where you say, okay, I need rest. I need sleep. When you start fighting it, that's where you're messing with your internal circadian rhythm. Now, let's say you usually feel tired, later. So there's sleep disorders that are related to insomnia, for example. Doc, I can't maintain my sleep. I can't fall asleep. That might be it. Or especially with young people, they develop what we call circadian rhythm disorders. Literally, they delay their sleep. And society makes them wake up 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, but they actually need to wake up, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning because they haven't really hit all of the kind of phases of sleep that they need during the night. So again, I mean, walking with you, it's a long conversation. So when you fall asleep, give me a time. When you feel sleepy, just give me a random time.
So now, so before I ask the question, because I'm going to respond with, circadian rhythm in my response, but just so people can follow along, what is a circadian rhythm exactly?
So circadian rhythm is an internal clock, all right? It is something that our body, our minds develop. It's very much associated now in pop culture with melatonin, but it's related to many other, hormones that are, build up in our system. So the two most common that you hear about is adenosine and melatonin. I'll just focus on melatonin. That your body, when you're first born, right, you don't recognize night and day, day and night. So your sleep is, multiphasic. You end up having wake and sleep throughout the day. But by the time you're in early childhood, we call it monophasic sleep. So 6 years old, you are awake during the day and you're sleepy during the night. And that's because your body has taken all the cues from society, from the environment, and entrenched it into our brain. Now our brain recognizes that when the light is out, we are going to be awake. When the light is gone, we need to be asleep. And it's an internal clock that works quite efficiently. For the vast majority of people, it's around 24 hours. Now, some people have a short circadian rhythm, some people have a long. But if I were to say it's an internal 24-hour clock that your body keeps, and it keeps based on something going on internally and externally. So there are external cues and there are internal cues.
Does it also have something to do with the sun rising and setting as well?
100%.
And you perceive?
100%. So, I can't remember. I think the term is Zeitgebers. So I think it's a German term. So something from your sight, something from the vision, something that you internalize from outside is actually giving your body cues. So when the light is out, when the sun is up, you're going to get light. That light is going to go straight into your brain. I think it's the pineal gland. And that pineal gland, it starts to, either suppress, either form melatonin when the light goes down, or other things, it'll, suppress, it doesn't actually suppress, it forms hormones, and it forms melatonin. So when you're getting the light, you're suppressing the melatonin, and so you're more awake. When the light goes away...
And what is melatonin?
Melatonin is a hormone formed in the pineal gland that causes us to start to feel sleepy, basically telling your body it's time to wind down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to summarize, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the circadian rhythm is an internal clock that lets you know when it's time to go to sleep. And the way that it lets you know is that at a certain time of the day, it starts to release melatonin, which then makes you sleepy. And this circadian rhythm, it forms due to all of the external prompts that you're basically receiving, i.e. the sun setting, it's getting dark, people, winding down at that time, generally speaking, people going to bed at that time. All of this kind of just built inside of you, this clock that tells you, hey, it's time to go to bed now.
100%. So the circadian rhythm is an internal clock telling you not just when to wind down and go to sleep, but also when to wake up.
The first time I came across this, I was actually mind blown at how Allah has created us. SubhanAllah. Yeah. We were given, because if you think about it, right, if we didn't have this, perhaps we would have been staying awake at night. Wherever you go across the world, people are sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And they're awake during the day. If this was not there, we wouldn't know when to be awake, when to sleep.
Gosh, I mean, this is deep in the sense that it's us as human beings, right? Because that's true for all different animals. They have their night and day, their sleep time and wake time, and it's not the same as us.
Correct.
So this whole it's unique to us, this 24-hour sleep schedule. Maybe there are other animals. I did not study zoology or animals or anything, but you know that some animals sleep for 4 hours. I think elephants sleep for 4 hours. Oh, wow. Whales might sleep, 1 hour at a time. So this whole idea of us sleeping when the night is when the sun is when it's nighttime, and then when it's awake, when the sun is out, we're awake. That's a human thing.
Barakallah. Very interesting. Do you guys want to hear something depressing? I've been searching for a halal investment opportunity with high returns for over 15 years. And other than Bitcoin, regretfully, I never found anything solid. The opportunities I found always had one of three issues. It was either haram disguised as halal, or it was super risky and volatile, or it had painfully low returns. I'm talking the type where they mention you make your first million when you're 50. But that all changed when I interviewed the most impressive real estate investor I've ever met, Brother Sam Amin. I interviewed him on my podcast, Righteous and Rich. And he blew my mind away with a halal real estate investment opportunity where he's helping his investors get 50% returns in 2 years. Allahumma barik. In fact, some of the most well-known students of knowledge and well-respected businessmen have invested with him and made hundreds of thousands and even millions. Allahumma barik. And get this, it's actually halal. There are no dodgy fatwas. There's no tricks. It's 100% halal. But there is a catch. There's always a catch. The catch is you have to have at least $100,000 liquid ready to invest within the next 30 days to qualify for his current development project in Dubai, where it's projected that he's going to be giving 50% returns to his investors over a 2-year period, inshallah. So if you're interested and you'd like to book a call with this team, you can do so at the link below. But just a heads up, if you don't have the $100,000 ready to deploy in 30 days, they won't take that call. With that said, let's get into the podcast. So, to answer your question about when I start to sleep, the reason I wanted you to explain circadian rhythm is because I spent quite a bit of time trying to fix my circadian rhythm. So I start to get tired as the sun sets.
Okay.
So when Maghrib kicks in, I will go and pray Maghrib in the masjid and come back. And now, it's funny because the Sahaba, they would start feeling really tired just before Isha. And some of the narrations mention that they would, be kind of like getting drowsy And, obviously the Prophet ﷺ would delay it for them slightly. But yeah, I start to get drowsy sometimes. Like I have to be like, no, I have to get to Isha. Don't be a munafiq or don't behave like a munafiq. You have to get to Isha. But yeah, I start getting tired when the sun starts to set now.
Yeah. And that is the right time to start feeling tired and sleepy. And that's when you're supposed to wind down. And maybe that's kind of the blessing of Maghrib and Isha, Maghrib being the shortest time.
Yeah.
You have Maghrib, you have Isha, usually within an hour and a half.
Yes.
And then you can fall asleep. Yeah.
So the issue that I have though is that I keep waking up at night.
Okay.
And what happens is that, look, I will spend the time in bed. I used to have the Whoop actually. We'll talk about it slightly, but these like sleep tracking apps, and it will tell me I've done the time in bed, but actual time sleep was maybe like sometimes 60%, 70%, and I feel like that really possibly is contributing towards my fatigue when I wake up.
Probably a big contributor. So we call that sleep efficiency, right? You're waking up at night. Are you able to fall back asleep when you wake up? Or does it take you time to fall back asleep?
I'm able to fall back asleep.
You are able to fall back asleep. How long does it take you?
A couple of minutes.
Couple of
minutes, yeah.
And it's, the 60% doesn't seem right. Because, if you're falling right back asleep, it should be closer to 80 or 90% sleep efficiency. But if it's a sleep efficiency around 60%, normally it's because somebody's awake and they're not falling back. So maybe your Whoop is not like really recognizing your
It wasn't 60
sleep.
every day. As in, I just mentioned that because I remember there was at least a handful of times where it was 60%.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking, it would be around about the 70, 80 mark.
So you married or?
I'm married, yes.
Does your wife complain that you snore or stop breathing?
No, I don't snore.
You don't snore. Yeah. Okay. So you wake up a lot. You remember waking up a lot. You go to sleep. Is it right after Isha you go to sleep?
So I will sleep about an hour after Isha.
Okay.
Hour and a half.
Okay. And that's when you're tired. And you go to bed and go straight to sleep?
I go to sleep, yeah. So when I was actually trying to fix my sleep, it would take me ages. I might be awake for 2 hours.
Okay.
But now, alhamdulillah, when I get to bed.
You get to bed.
I get to bed, alhamdulillah.
All right. And so then you get to bed and you fall asleep. You wake up. You go right back to sleep. Then what time you wake up?
I wake up at Fajr.
Fajr time.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it like the initial iqamah of salah or like towards the end?
At the adhan time.
Yeah, at the adhan time.
Yeah.
And then do you go back to sleep?
So this is something I also want to talk to you about. But currently, yes, I've been going back to sleep for about an hour, hour and a half, which I don't like to do.
Why?
Because I have a lot of stuff I need to get done in the day.
Yeah, okay.
And that's taking out from a solid hour and a half. Plus the morning time has the barakah, as the message, as I mentioned. But I've been finding at least maybe 4 or 5 times in a week, I'm having to go back for another hour and a half.
Yeah. The end of your sleep, that last
And by the way, when I wake
half,
up, even if I do the extra hour and a half, I'm still tired.
You're still tired.
Still tired.
God, see, it's a hard one. It's definitely something that would take a long time to kind of play. But you're waking up. You're sometimes going back to sleep, sometimes not going back to sleep. So maybe there's some sleep debt there, right? Like you might actually, if you average out all the hours of sleep that you're doing, you're not getting the full 8 hours. So sometimes we have like what we call a sleep diary. We try to make sure everything is actually.
So it's definitely not 8 hours. I'm sleeping about maximum 7.
Maximum 7.
So do you think that's like the issue is that I need 8?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, then you need more sleep and you need to sleep towards the end of, so, alhamdulillah, getting up for Fajr is a great thing. But sometimes getting up, Fajr time is kind of a signal. This is when, we're talking about your circadian rhythm. Well, that's when your body is the coolest and then it heats up to wake you up. Around that time is when you get the maximum amount of REM sleep. And REM sleep is, I don't know how to describe it perfectly, but it's the unique sleep of our bodies. So ultimately, this is where emotionally you're regulated, physically you regulate, neurologically you make these new connections.
So what do you mean you regulate? Like what physical, emotional regulation? What does that mean?
So REM sleep to me, remains a bit of a mystery. But what we know that if you lack REM sleep, so in the beginning of your sleep, in your early sleep, you're going to get the kind of the basic superficial baseline sleep what we call N1, N2. But N2 is your main sleep. And then you have delta wave sleep, which is like, stage 3 sleep. Now, stage 3 sleep is unique in the sense that you get these growth hormones, your testosterone, your body's kind of being filled with all of these kind of, energetic hormones. During puberty, your stage 3 sleep goes up. About 30 to 40% of your sleep can be stage 3 sleep because your body is changing. So that's when all the testosterone is awash. So that's the first part of your sleep. The last part of your sleep is more REM heavy, less stage 3, more REM. We used to call it like stage 4, but now we call it REM sleep. And what it does is your body completely paralyzes, and your brain activity is as if you're awake. And God knows what is going on exactly, but you have very vivid dreams. You have, I think there are plenty of studies that emphasize this. You have emotional regulation. There is something called your amygdala, and the amygdala, somehow becomes, more regulated, your ability to focus. So you're talking about how groggy you feel. Well, I mean, there's your amygdala is connected to this part of your brain. It's called the cortex, the frontal cortex, and there's something called the prefrontal cortex. Amygdala is the emotional part, and he kind of hits the brain and says, I'm angry, I'm tired, I'm mad, I'm jealous, all of these things. And your brain, your frontal lobe is telling it, okay, all right, I feel you. Let's, think about these feelings, the more developed person.
The logical side?
The logical side.
Side.
Yeah, the emotional side. So I kind of actually do that with my patients. I say, here are your feelings and here are your thoughts.
Okay.
And there's these connections between the two. Well, if you don't get your REM sleep, this part, kind of your feelings blow up. And this part, your thoughts, your control, your personality, your character is under less control.
Very interesting.
So if you're not allowing that part of your brain to kind of regulate, then you're going to get a lot of, fatigue, tiredness, emotionalness, kind of volatility.
So, doctor, did you say that this sleep comes just before Fajr kicks in?
It comes throughout the night, but the heaviest emphasis, like when it becomes most concentrated, is around Fajr time.
Do you know why this is mind-blowing? Because the Prophet ﷺ, his night prayer was, I always found it really interesting. So he would sleep, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for, up until, so the last third of the night, he would wake up and he would pray. So he would wake up just before the last third of the night, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check the hadith.
Yeah.
Just before the last. And he would pray until a sixth of the night was left. And he would go back to sleep at that time. And then wake up at Fajr. So he would people think he would get up and he would pray for a third of the night, but he wouldn't be awake at the entirety of the last third.
Right.
He would be awake for a portion of the last third, but actually the last sixth of the night, he would go back to sleep. So it's very interesting because...
I think that is very interesting. I mean, I remember reading a hadith maybe like 3-4 months ago where something about the night and prayer is different. And, even there was, you're talking about how tired you are.
Yeah.
I know there were like these Sahaba and they were all, for some reason, delayed in Salat al-Isha. And Rasul made a comment that your Isha prayer has more value the more you delay it. So around closer to 12 midnight, I would say. So there is something about that. And when you think of Isha and how it's linked to sleep, like between Isha and Fajr, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants you to get up and pray during that time, and how we understand the kind of the value of our sleep. There is definitely, I would say this is where, as a Muslim, your spiritual connection, your religious understanding of sleep starts to deviate from the scientific understanding of sleep. That our prayers and our sleep are deeply linked. And where's the value in that? Where's the value in the Rasul praying at the last third of the night? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure there's a mystery there that can be solved. It'd be nice to see people, who have, such kind of deep faith to see. Maybe there is a value. And kind of just
to when he would sleep at the last 6?
Yeah, he would sleep. And this is where I will bring it up, because I remember throughout my childhood, people say, you fast, it's so unhealthy. You fast, it's a very unhealthy thing to do. And legitimately, they had a point. I don't know what the health benefits of fasting is. And so now we know that there is your immune system regenerates, your blood gets to regenerate, your brain regenerates. There's a lot of benefits to fasting. Now, it's a fad to fast. So I think it's the same thing. I think, Islam hasn't let me down, maybe. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, it won't let me down in the future. But yeah, I think there is something there about getting up and praying and going back to sleep that is very powerful.
So what's interesting what we say there, Doctor, is that, so I grew up in, based on these different narrations about, pray a third of the night, and, the ayat that mentioned, the believers who forsake their beds and they go for salah, and I grew up hearing mashayikh and scholars, saying they only slept 4 or 5 hours a night and consistently, and so on and so forth. I grew up thinking a lot of sleep is bad, until I came across this research that this great scholar called Imam Ibn al-Jawziyah he did, and he wrote a book in which he studied the life of the Prophet ﷺ end to end. So it wasn't just like a seerah where we went through the story, but he's like studied everything the messenger did, like why they do it, brought evidence for. And one of the things that he did is he studied the Prophet ﷺ sleep, and he said that the messenger slept for 8 hours in a day. So not in a night, in a day. So if you combine his nighttime sleep and the nap that he would take prior to Dhuhr time, it was actually 8 hours. So that there's not really an inconsistency between what you're saying, which is that you need to have 8 hours to sleep, and the Prophet slept 8 hours,
right?
According to Imam Ibn al-Qayyim. And also just the fact that, okay, but I think what you're alluding to is that perhaps there's like a hidden benefit to actually getting up and interrupting your sleep in that way.
Yeah, and praying. Yeah.
But at the same time, going back to sleep for the last 6th, because that's where the REM sleep kicks in.
Yeah. Maybe there's something there. I am fascinated by that. Maybe one day I'll have a chance to really look into it. But I think there is. I mean, that is a very special form of sleep. And right before that, we are somewhat asked to interrupt it and pray, and then go right into that sleep. Maybe there's a benefit that I'm not aware of.
So if you interrupt it, do you get into it straight away, or do you need to have like that entire lead up?
See, so now here's, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I think I can, speaking from my own experience, you end up having social pressures of life, right? Now you wake up for Fajr. Well, December time, you wake up for Fajr. Well, 30 minutes later, I have to wake up my kids, and we wake them up for Fajr now that they're older, but you have to take them to school. You have to get them ready. So sometimes I don't fall asleep, and I am tired during the day, and I do feel like taking a nap. But yeah, there is this kind of inertia, let's say, like in an ideal summer day where everything is, relaxed and there's no work pressure. Yeah, you get this inertia, you wake up. This is kind of a point where I think your temperature starts to rise, and you go, you pray. And I think for me, immediately, I don't even think it takes me like 5 minutes to close my eyes and go right back to sleep. So it's pretty easy.
Barakallah feek. Doctor, I want to talk about death. I've been hearing that there is a correlation or, relationship between people having an increased mortality rate and staying awake at night. Is this correct?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I give people the example. Cats, we love cats, and they like to sleep all day and eat and then go right back to sleep. You take a cat and you deny it sleep, it will die within 2 or 3 days. It will die.
Wow.
Yeah. So the animal will die. It's the same thing with human. This is why sleep deprivation is considered torture. You see, right. It's 100% torture. You deny somebody, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate, your ability for your body to regulate goes out of whack, it is pure torture, denying somebody sleep. So people who regularly deny themselves sleep, for whatever reason, they end up with emotional issues, blood pressure issues, hypertension, complications in diabetes, increased risk of stroke. And it's just because they don't have sleep. They have insufficient sleep. And what's interesting about that in a lot of ways is when you see people who have like psychiatric disorders, and their psychiatric disorders almost across the board. When I'm reading, I don't know, I don't, take care of psychiatric patients, but across the board we'll have a sleep problem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And generally they don't survive. They don't really survive past 40, 50 years old. Eventually, people with like schizophrenia and like real disease, I mean, they don't live very long. I mean, I'd have to, I want to take it back a little bit. Obviously I don't study it enough. I am just a clinician, but from my experiences, yeah. I mean, we meet a lot of young people with, psychiatric disease but you don't meet them old and with psychiatric, because usually by then, their lives have ended.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's a tragedy.
So could you give me some examples of psychiatric diseases?
Schizophrenia is probably the most common.
Bipolar?
Major depressive, bipolar disorder.
So depression is considered.
Yeah. I'm talking about there's mental illness and mental health, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about mental health, right? Lots of us suffer from mental health problems. Totally fine. You can adjust it. You can work on it. I'm talking about like real organic, psychologic disease and brain disease and emotional disease. And yeah, they tend to complain about their sleep. And as their lives progress, they tend to have more and more like medical problems. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is evidence that it's related to, lack of sleep, because they never have good sleep. Almost inevitably, they complain about their sleep.
What about people who work graveyard shifts? So they work the night shift. They will sleep during the day. They might even sleep 8 hours, but they're not getting that nighttime sleep.
Yeah.
What are the risks to them?
The risks are there. Even if so there's something called shift work disorder, where people change their shifts regularly. Mm-hmm. They're 100% increased risk of blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. Even if you only have a shift at night, saying, no, doc, I only have night shift and I sleep during the day and wake up at night. They have increased risk of heart disease. And why? I have no idea. I cannot tell you this is the cause, but we can definitely link an association. People who have shift work.
So interesting, because Allah says in the Quran, هو الذي جعل لكم الليل لتسكنوا فيه والنهار مبصرا.
Yeah.
He is the one who made the night for you to rest.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you go against the natural order that Allah Azza wa Jal has made, you
pay a price.
You pay a price.
You definitely pay a price. And look, I mean, I'm a doctor. You have to do a night shift.
Right. So that's
you
what
have to be on
There are
call.
some professions that, like, for example,
police officers,
army soldiers. Yeah. So what can they do to kind of, is there anything they can do to make up for these shifts?
Sleep medicine is so new that I'm sure we're going to figure it out better. But right now, what you do is when your shift ends, right? The shift ends, and we talked about the light. People focus on the blue light, but light in general. They finish work. They have to treat that as the end of their day. They have to treat that day as their night. So we recommend they, wear sunglasses, wear glasses that kind of limit the amount of light going into their brain, and have a specific bedtime where they go to sleep in a dark room, cool everything, and wake up, 6, 7, 8 hours later, and keep a really, really kind of, religious sleep schedule. They have to make sure that their schedule and their sleep is taken care of. And it's hard because the whole world is awake. So, I got to go do my groceries. I have to go take the kids or pick them up from school. It's not easy.
So they have to basically mimic the night during the day as close as possible. They have to kind of readjust their circadian rhythm. They have to make their circadian rhythm believe that their day is actually their night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about magnesium and zinc. So I take magnesium and zinc before I sleep. I was just told by someone that I should before I sleep.
Everybody is on magnesium for sleep, and I do not have a good answer for it.
Really? Because I don't know if it's a placebo thing.
It works, right?
But it's doing a good job for me.
Yeah. I am not the one to give you... the problem is, I think the way my brain works is if I'm not sure of something, I hate talking about it because I don't want to mislead people. But magnesium is, like there are women who have eclampsia or preeclampsia, and you want to stop them from delivering the baby. What do we give them? We give them a whole bunch of magnesium, right? Really? We give them magnesium drips. And what is the number one rule for this magnesium drip? You want to check their reaction time, like neural status, right? So you want to make sure that they are, not going flaccid, right? Because you'll paralyze the whole entire body.
Oof.
And so now you take it to the next level and you recognize that what magnesium does is it relaxes your body. It relaxes the muscle.
Okay.
It relaxes the smooth muscle in your airway. Now, magnesium is 2+, calcium is 2+. And calcium, when you give it to the cells, your muscles start to constrict. So magnesium mimics the calcium, so it kind of blocks the calcium so the muscles start to relax.
Interesting.
So that's the theory behind it, that it kind of, your neural response weakens, your muscles start to relax. So a little bit of magnesium is going to do that for you. Now, you have to give a lot of magnesium to get that effect. So, 100 milligrams of magnesium, I don't know why that works for a lot of people. If it's placebo, alhamdulillah, let it work. If it's working, who am I to stop it? I'm sick. I tell people, I know that ginger tea doesn't do anything for the common cold. But if I'm sick and I have a runny nose, I go for that ginger tea and I put honey and it makes me happy. And so I'll leave it at that.
I've got to the point where I've started drinking coffee in the morning, even though it doesn't keep me awake. We're going to talk about coffee in a bit more detail, but I can drink coffee and go straight to sleep.
Yeah.
But I drink it because it makes me feel good.
It does. It does. We all look forward to that cup in the morning. Yes.
Okay. Doctors, we ran a poll on our Instagram yesterday. And we asked people, what is the most common thing that's keeping you awake? Different options, snoring, this, that, so on and so forth. 80% of our audience said that scrolling on their phones, 80% of them said that is the thing that's keeping them up and preventing them from falling asleep. In simple terms, doctor, how bad is scrolling on your phone before you sleep?
Let's start with teenagers. It's terrible because it has levels of problems, not even preteens, because it causes emotional problems. It causes, sleep delay. And at the end of the day, it takes away from, your structure. Now, there's scrolling on the phones. We're talking about probably just, Instagram or something along that line, social media, where there's no benefit. Let's say, you're trying to, buy a car and you're trying to decide what's your best car. Maybe there's an actual benefit to that and you find your, time to do that. Like, sometimes reading right before you sleep, you're just doing your research. So if it's purposeless, it is just mindless, then it is really bad because your brain is supposed to be winding down. Your brain is supposed to be getting ready for its own, scrolling in your dreams or whatever it is. So you want to avoid anything that stimulates your brain. I think you have to treat your sleep like it's like a job, like it's your duty to fall asleep, like it's your duty to take care of your body. Sleeping is like exercise, you know? It's your duty to take care of your body, to go exercise, to be fit. And it's also your duty to take care of your mind and your body when you need to sleep. So delaying sleep for something that's a bit mindless can be very unhealthy. Now, obviously, you're delaying your sleep. So you're delaying that stage 3 sleep that we're talking about, that we talked about earlier. You know, that's where your hormone regulation is coming in. That's where your growth hormone, your testosterone.
So what is growth hormone? What does that do? Because we hear this a lot, right? Growth hormone gets released when you sleep. That's why I love when you explained what emotional regulation is. Like people who wake up and they're, you know, not able to control their emotions, and you're not sleeping very well. Well, you know, put some time in getting that good quality sleep. So what is the benefit of growth hormone and testosterone release?
Yeah. I mean, you're basically refreshing your body. The hormones are things that are informing your body, your DNA, to get rid of the bad cells, make new good cells, you know, grow. All of those things give your, you know, body the energy it needs to function. And that hormonal regulation, I mean, the thing about like sleep, ultimately, it's, you know, getting rid of the trash and cleaning up the house so that the next day you're ready and functional to go.
So what's the trash that's being cleaned out?
What is the trash? The cells, the bad cells, the cells that have bad DNA in them. Are
these the ones that become cancers?
Potentially. I mean, no, not necessarily, but they're just, you know, every cell lives and dies, you know, they last a certain period of time in your body and then it's being replaced. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
All of your cells are being replaced all the time. How is your body doing it?
If you're not sleeping properly, potentially your body can become a graveyard for dead cells?
Well, I mean, it's your body has a harder time getting rid of the dead cells, getting rid of, you're sick. When you're sick and you need to sleep, that way your body can, you know, form the white blood cells and, you know, give you new platelets and give your body the energy it needs to, you know, fight the infection. So all of that is happening with hormonal regulation. Hormones are basically, you know, signals, communication, you know, wires between all different parts of your body, your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your muscles, all of that. And you're just denying your body all of that just for the sake of, you know, finding what the new TikTok trend is. It's a problem.
So is it problematic that they're on a phone? Or what if they were like reading a book, for example, or doing a puzzle?
Yeah, I mean, there's something mindless about the phone. I've not studied it enough, but I can tell you one thing, that we're seeing kids who have signs of being on like autistic, essentially. They're literally almost in the autism spectrum. Not because they are autistic, but because they're not developing the skills that they need to communicate, to interact, to think. So when you're just looking mindlessly on, I don't know, you know, dancing or something, you know, gossip or something, you're not developing the skills to interact, to think. So reading a book, for example, I'm, to be honest, a bit of an addict when it comes to reading books. So it's there's a thought, there's an interaction. Your brain is actually working. You know, you're reading and you're getting an emotional response and you're thinking about a story. You're developing understanding about characters and how they develop and how they grow. You know, it's different when you get like a 5-10 second flip of the phone. You don't recognize all of those things. So you know, it's becoming clearer and clearer. I can focus on the children because that's where I know the studies have been proving. Evidence is that, you know, it's destroying people's ability to kind of rationalize, to think, to develop, you know, emotional skills. So just that alone is a problem. Like I don't know how many parents I know, tons, say my kid is scrolling on the phone. My 11-year-old kid is scrolling on their iPad at night. I'm like, why is the iPad in their hands in the middle of the night? It's really hard to listen to. But
Doctor, this issue of screen time for children, just for the parents that are listening, like really, how bad is it? I understand you've mentioned a few things. It can help. It can restrict their development, and in terms of like communication skills, and possibly put them in the spectrum, or make it so that they've got traits that are similar to children that might be on the autistic spectrum. But like, if I give you a chance just to kind of speak to those parents and warn them, what would you say so they can understand the gravity of this?
Man, from what I'm reading, it's poison to their brains. It's poison. It's destroying their ability to understand themselves, understand the people around them. It's destroying their ability to socialize. It's destroying their ability to think. And I think it's so necessary to limit that screen time. Mm-hmm. Look, we all gave the phone to our kids. I did a few times, and not knowing. I mean, this is, when the phones first came out, I would give, and, there would be little, cartoons where my daughter would get excited to watch. But as I grew older and recognized how, how it's became kind of like a babysitter, it's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. You have to interact with your child, no matter how, we're talking about waking up for Fajr, right? It's hard. You have to get out of this very comfortable bed and you have to pray, right? Looking at it from removing just, the pure religious thing. You have a child in front of you. You have to learn to interact with that child, because that's the only way they're going to develop human skills, human emotions. And they're not going to be kind of a bit, brain dead. And they have to know how to be bored, right? Boredom is okay for your child, because that forces their brain to develop creativity. And that's being taken away. So sometimes it's okay for a limited period of time. But if it is a regular thing, a daily thing, where there's no limitation, there's no boundaries, you're really messing with your child's development.
Doctor, the parents nowadays, I'm speaking as a parent myself, they almost seem unable to be able to just spend time with their children without these phones. It seems like they've really lost the resilience. Mm-hmm. Obviously, being a parent is not easy.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of the reasons why it's so rewarding in this life and the next.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. But nowadays, it's like we're just constantly hearing parents make the excuse, and a lot of times it comes from the mothers of the fathers, because fathers usually at work, if the mother's at home, saying that, look, I need a break. So that's why I give my child this, so I can, have a break. Otherwise I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, our mothers didn't give us phones.
Well, they didn't have them, right?
Didn't have them. Right? So my question is,
my mom put me outside, and she said, you play outside and then you come home, and it was fine. Yeah. Play.
So is my question, is it a cultural issue, that parents have, culturally become, have lost the conditioning and lost the resilience, or are they just becoming weaker? Like, what's the issue? Why is it that they can't put up with their children?
I think throughout history, people couldn't put up with their children, right? I don't know if you watch ever those, I can hear your British accent. So, those old school, like, aristocrats, they would, you have a child and they're with the nanny, 23 out of 24 hours of the day, and maybe 1 hour they get to play with their mom. Mm-hmm. So there is something like that. I'm not saying I'm sure Brits love their children 100%. I'm just kind of saying that this is a historic
British
thing.
People are not in any way, shape, or patriotic or nationalistic like Americans. I don't think anyone's offense to that.
Nobody is perfect, including myself. But what I want to say is, it's not new that, you have a child, and you have two options. You can interact with the child and raise the child and kind of bring them into the fold of the family. Or you can just treat them as a pet and say, they'll grow up and they'll be fine. And, society will raise them. And I think there is always that push and pull. Some people don't have the skill don't have the skill. And I think a lot of people who are raised without, family interaction grow up and then they're like, wait, what do I do with this child? Nobody did anything with me. So it's a level of it's a level that needs to be addressed. It's something that needs to be addressed. Don't be harsh on yourself. These feelings are natural, right? Everybody wants to go home and deal with nobody except themselves and put their head on a pillow. But you have to kind of recognize that you're entrusted with these other human beings. What are you doing for them? Just a nice little question. Am I doing anything for them? Am I saying hello? Are you just giving a conversation with them? If your answer to every single, stressor from them is, go away, this is a problem. Yeah. I don't want to judge it because I know they're natural feelings, but I think your responsibility is there. You have to be sure that they are developing, that they are growing emotionally, physically. And with these darn things, it's really hard. I mean, this morning I took my kids to paddle. And one of the things you realize, I'm doing it because it's not like you just open the door and say, go play with the kids outside. There are no kids outside. When I was growing up, there were street games. We would actually go out in our subdivision and play. And if not, then there was a community center and we would play basketball all day and all night. And this is really lacking. This is really lacking in our society. And I don't know. I think it's too many problems to list, too numerous to count, as we say.
What are the limitations? What guidance would you give on creating boundaries and limitations for screen time? And if you could also just explain how they would change based on different ages. All
right. So when it comes to my own kids, I'm very grateful to my wife who manages it way more than me because I'm always at work.
Yeah, a lot of water.
But let's start with nighttime, right? Because we're talking about sleep. 8, 9 o'clock, nobody is entitled to their computer or their iPad or their phone unless we have a clear indication that they have an exam or some kind of homework to do. There's a drawer, there's a place in our bedroom where all the kids put all their electronics.
Oh, interesting.
Right, and they pick it up the next morning, right?
Very interesting.
Even our 18-year-old daughter. I mean, now, it's kind of less, of course, but nope, this is our tradition. Now, where are your computers? Of course, they get a little sneaky. 100%. Very important.
I'm going to implement this from tonight.
Yeah, 100%. It's very important. But you can't sleep, read a book, do some prayers. I don't know, do something, but it's not going to be on your phone. All right. So we have a list. So then you have during the day. Well, I mean, they want to play. Everybody has games. Their friends have the games. And just because they're doing it is never an excuse to do it. But, you can't just say no to everything. So we have a screen time limitation, depending on their age, but it varies. It's about 2 hours a day maximum. And that's it. Once you hit your screen time.
What age is that for?
All of them. So nobody got a phone before the age of 13. But all of them got a phone at 13. The last one still is waiting for her phone. But then we set pretty strong rules. Everybody has a Apple computer because we know how to manage them, or Apple phone. And so all of them 2 hours maximum. Yeah.
So what about parents who may not, for example, have given their 7-year-old or 5-year-old a phone, but they, let them watch things on their devices, on their iPads?
As long as they are watching with them, right? Like,
what would be the limit?
Oh, gosh, I'm not the child expert, but I would say if it's more than 2 hours, there's a problem. It's a problem.
Is there an age up until which they just shouldn't be getting screen time?
Honestly, if I were to speak ideally, and having said this, I had my own kids and I did give them an iPad sometimes just for my own sanity. So again, no perfection here. I mean, I wouldn't give them any screen time. I would let them play. I would let them be creative. The screen, maybe if there's something creative that they're using it for, like my daughter likes art. So yeah, she can have the iPad and do her art. That's no problem. But if it's just to scroll through anything, no, it's not happening.
I want to bring it back to to screen time, but from the angle of blue light. So we hear about this blue light thing a lot.
A lot. And I think it's so we can sell these glasses.
Really? Do you think that?
I don't know because, I took my board exam last year in sleep and they did not mention blue light not once. And it made me wonder why I didn't hear anything about blue light until last year. Now, having said that, it is legit.
Oh, it's legit.
It is legit. The
but
blue
doctor,
light.
If I may ask, why is it that you didn't hear about that in your curriculum?
I don't know. I think maybe it's something that was so I did my fellowship in 2011 in sleep. And so we definitely studied about light and the pathways between, your retina and your pineal gland and your something called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, if I can remember all of that brain stuff. But we know that there is a specific path between your eyes and your brain in different parts of your brain.
Okay.
And I think it is the suprachiasmatic nucleus and the pineal gland. And that direct light. So for example, even blind people, they get light. And that light is a Zeitgeber, meaning it gives them information about their own internal circadian rhythm, right? We talked about circadian rhythm as how it's an internal clock.
Yes.
And it's an internal clock, and it sets itself based on, outside signals. So even blind people have that internal clock.
Wow.
And so the light itself gives that information. Well, I knew that it was just light. The intensity of the light mattered 100%. So if it was an intense sunlight, it's different than just a light, like a yellow light. But the blue light thing seems to be really popularized because they were studying how computers and iPads and phones were affecting our sleepiness. And it turns out, the blue light has a very, very particular kind of effect. I think it's because of the wavelength itself. But don't think that it's not the whole entire light. Don't think it's not the whole entire pad. The light itself is giving the signal to suppress melatonin. The light itself is giving the signal to wake you up. Whether or not it's blue light. But the blue light does play a role.
So, for example, then, I guess like I have this function on my phone where I can, like night shift.
And it reduces
the blue light, right?
I think it just reduces the intensity, but does it reduce the blue light?
I'm not sure, but like I sometimes think looking at it like this is not that bad. But you're saying light is light at the end of the day.
Light is light, but yes, the intensity makes a difference. So 100%.
But this is still affecting me.
It does affect you, and it should affect you. Yeah. That's why we say in a dark room, you sleep in a dark room. We tell people, don't even look at your clock. Don't even look at Doc, I can't sleep and I'm staring at my clock. Don't even stare at your clock. Don't even. It should be dark. Darker, better. The darker, the better. And that is something that gets your brain to sleep. And so any kind of light. But blue light in particular, it seems to have a specific type of intensity that affects your brain.
So then based on this, informal survey that we did yesterday, this informal research, when 80 plus people mentioned that their sleep is being interrupted with scrolling, I guess the way to fix that is just, to do what you do in your house, which is put your phones away in a cupboard or a drawer. And there's even these boxes that you can find on Amazon where you can set like a timer on it and it will not open until, for example, morning time. You can set the timer.
Yeah.
You just have to, because I was speaking with one of my colleagues earlier, Faisal, and he was telling me that, he's got sleep apnea and he snores
heavily,
to the point where some people have said to him, like, this is dangerous. You have to get this checked out. Like, your snoring is really intense.
Yeah.
But most people, they don't have those type of issues. It's just your sleep can be fixed. And that means your productivity can be better. Your emotional, physical regulation can be better. Your testosterone could be released at a more optimal rate. All of these things can be happening if you just put your phones away a bit earlier.
I think so. I think there is an escapism factor. If I were to think of myself when I do end up doom scrolling, you're just, you'll see this, this dopamine fix. Somehow you're trying to escape or do some, just kind of relax. And, I would say do something else to relax, try something else. And because, the scrolling is, I think, a sign of maybe there's something missing for you that you have to be kind of doing, again, I'm glad we're all Muslim and that we kind of think on that wavelength. But even anybody who has kind of a religious bent, we know that prayer is like much more valuable at night, looking at the hadith. So get up and pray. Do some prayers. Reconnect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I start doom scrolling, I definitely say, you know what? I have 2 rakat to pray right now. I'll just go ahead and pray 2 rakat. And, that's way better than something else that, that is distracting you. Maybe you're doom scrolling because you feel unproductive during the day, or you feel, that you a lot of people say, because I want my own time. I don't feel like I have my own time. Well, now you have your own time. What are you going to do to make it valuable or productive? And don't, again, I did study psychology. I read about it. The worst thing you could do is judge it. I'm a bad person. I'm a good person. I never feel like that helps. Just say, you know what, this is not productive for me. This is not helping me. I kind of be self-aware. Say, you know what, I am going into this pattern again. What can I do to change it? Or why am I in this pattern? So don't judge the fact that you're scrolling. Oh, this is bad. This is good. Say, why am I doing this right now? I should be sleeping. I can't sleep. Okay, go do something else. So have the conversation with yourself, a very gentle, friendly conversation with yourself, and say, you know what? This is not good for me. Can I do something else? And 99% chance the answer will be yes.
So sometimes you'll jump into bed and you're like, look, I'm just going to scroll for 5 minutes. I'm just going to check a few emails, look at some messages. But next thing you know, it's like 2 a.m., right? Some extreme situations.
Yeah.
Well, it can be extreme depending on what
It's
time.
extreme, but it's common.
But so what is it that's happening on a neurological level, right? Between your brain and these apps that you're using that's causing you to get hooked in this way? Because I don't think anyone ever says, I'm going to sit down and just scroll for an hour. I've never met a person who's sat down and said that to themselves. We always go in, like, I'm just going to go check something and I'm out.
Yeah.
What is happening? Because I feel like sometimes if you know what's happening, maybe just that presence of mind is like, is half the problem. Just knowing.
Yeah. I think it's something to do with the mind and its tendency to be addicted or addiction. And I don't know, because I never studied this, right? I'm just coming from, using my own ideas. But I do think that at night when I am hungry, I go out and I say, I'm just going to have this one sandwich. And then I see the chicken my wife made the day before. And then I see the chips and salsa. And then I see, you just kind of stuff your mouth and you're like, oh my gosh, I just came here for a sandwich and maybe a drink of water. So I think it's the same thing. Yeah. Now, if I'm going because I'm hungry and I really am hungry, the plan of what I'm going to eat and what I'm not going to eat is very important. So I think if I'm checking a couple emails, right? Tomorrow you have a podcast and you have to prepare and you haven't prepared. There's a legitimate purpose. You're fulfilling that purpose. You're fulfilling that goal. You have a plan around that goal. Okay, check. You check the box. And then you're like, oh, well, what's going on here and who's playing what and, what game, is here, what new cars are out. I always, for some reason, like to look at cars. Then you realize, oh my gosh, I'm going down that rabbit hole. I have to stop.
Does it have something to do with dopamine?
I think so. I think so. I definitely think it has to do with dopamine, the addiction mechanisms that we have, our desire for like kind of short bursts of pleasure, and we all seek it. And so we're kind of trying to do that.
So is it that you just need willpower at that point? Because dopamine is it's something really hard to combat, right? It's the feel good
essentially, yeah,
hormone.
yeah.
Right. So it's like you do something, you feel good, and then you chase that high again.
Yeah.
And then just looking for it again and again. So at that point now, I've caught myself, okay, I'm in this dopamine cycle.
Right.
But I want to go and look at the next video.
You do.
So what do I do? Is it just sheer willpower at this point?
What do? You put it away. But how do you do it? And that's what you do. You put it away and you're like, that's what I have to do.
But I need that dopamine hit.
I talk about, one of the things I studied, and I don't know if this is related per se, but I studied one of the things that really affected me when we studied psychology and social psychology, and I'm trying to remember the professor's name, but gosh, he really affected me. And it was the sense of relationships and love. Mm-hmm. And I think I relate all things to these lectures that he gave. Mm-hmm. You can meet 1,000 people, right? You meet 1,000 people and you forget them and they forget you. Mm-hmm. But there are certain people in your life, you kind of meet them and you feel connected to them. Mm-hmm. You feel that connection. So your heart is attracting you to that person. You get to know that person. And, you have a conversation with him. Turns out half of what he tells you is a lie. Mm-hmm. Maybe you lend him some money and he doesn't give you the money back. He never returns it or acknowledges that you lent him money and helped him out. Now, your heart is connected to that person. I don't know what it is about your connection to that person, but it is real. You love that person. Mm-hmm. There's in Arabic, we have ilfe. You like that person. You feel a connection. But your mind is telling you that thing is not good. That person is not good for you. But it's so rare to have that connection, right? So the healthy mind creates the boundary, all right? The boundary is, I like that person, but they're not good for me. I have to stay away. Most of us love that feeling. Something about that feeling is really important to us. And it's nice. So we hold on. We go to that person, we hug them, and we squeeze them, and we say, hey, one day you're going to see how great I am. And I think that's the same thing with all of our habits, right? We know it's not good, but we are getting a certain type of temporary pleasure from it. And so we don't know how to set the boundary. So why do I give you this long-winded explanation? It's how I see things. If you have to learn the skill of setting boundaries. And once you do that, it's not hard. And you have to know yourself better. So there's self-awareness. I say not self-judgment because it makes things so much worse. And, people who judge themselves a lot, judge others a lot. And I find that they make society a lot worse. So it's harsh. So I'm saying self-awareness, recognition of what benefit you're getting, whether it's temporary or not, and recognition that is there harm or not. So once you say, oh, wow, what I'm doing is harmful, I didn't know that before, now I do, then you have to learn to create that boundary. And it's the adult thing to do. And a lot of people don't do it. But that's it. You have to learn.
I feel like that was very beautifully put. I just want to also share one thing that might be something that can aid and assist people. I don't want people to think that, I don't struggle with these things myself. I personally...
We all do.
am extremely obsessive. If I am doing something, maybe it's connected to my ADHD, but I really find it hard to get away. So these phones and everything are a huge issue for me. I have to do extreme things. Sometimes I'll get so annoyed at my phone, I'll actually throw it. I'll become just so frustrated. I have to just throw it just to get it out of my hand.
Right.
But what I did is I downloaded this app called Opal.
Okay.
So there's many apps that block, app time. This is the deadliest. All of them have a workaround. Opal, if you get the paid version, and don't worry, they're not sponsoring this podcast.
No, I understand. Yeah.
It's about $20 to $30 a month. If you get the annual membership, it's about $60 to $80, something like that. But it's probably been the best investment that I've done in terms of my productivity. And it's so interesting because what you can do is you can set the apps to one time I set it to all of my apps. And I was out and I couldn't even access a cab. I had to call someone to get a cab. So, you know, just in case of emergency, I have my bank account. It doesn't block my bank. It doesn't block any cab apps.
Yeah.
But all of the apps, you know, like YouTube and Instagram, even work apps like Slack and so on and so forth, ChatGPT will block everything. And then I have times of the day where I really want to do deep work or I want to do uninterrupted work. It's blocked. And subhanAllah, I didn't even realize how useful it was until this morning, because I turned it off for a reason a couple of days ago, and I haven't turned it back on. And I was very stressed this morning, and this hasn't happened to me in almost half a year.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't get to work for an hour and a half. I wasn't scrolling, but I was just hopping from app to app. And then I was responding to messages, responding to voice notes, making myself feel like I was doing something productive. But I go from WhatsApp business to WhatsApp, from that to YouTube Studio, to Instagram, to Slack. And then I found myself just circulating these apps, looking for something 5 minutes later as if there's going to be a new update. And I did that for about an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did that for about 2 hours. I'm embarrassed to say, just this morning. And I found that I was very, you know, overwhelmed and stressed about something. And now that you've mentioned it, I've just made that connection. I didn't realize I was doing it because of that reason, but it makes sense. And subhanAllah, consequently, you know what I did? I actually just put my phone away and I put the Quran on. Like, I even felt so overstimulated. I felt like I couldn't even open to read at that time.
Right.
So I thought, let me just listen. And when I just listened, I reset myself and was able to get started my day.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. It's nice. I think, I think there's something powerful about that. I think, look, I mean, I'm on that wavelength that ultimately maybe sometimes we're not remembering God. You know, the idea of dhikr is so important, right? You're supposed to, you say, you know, subhanallah, bihamdih, subhanallah azim, and Allah forgives your sins the day before and the day after. But it's not just this forgiveness, it's this remembrance of what your purpose is. And so along that same line, sometimes you're doing it because there's no purpose. One of the things, and again, I am not guilty, and I have children who will witness that I can doom scroll myself and sit for hours on the phone, especially if I'm stressed. But my cure is the planning, right? So, I have X I have to do. I have these patients, I have to review their chest x-rays. I have these people I have to call. I have these things. And so I create a regular plan. So for me, planning my day. And so now I find myself scrolling, right, wasting an hour and a half. I go, oh my gosh, let me look at my plan for the day. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. So it forces me to say, I have something else. It's like redirect that energy. And everybody has to kind of figure it out their own way. But it's sad. It's a tragedy. I think these phones are really scary, but I mean, obviously so beneficial. I mean, look how productive you are anyway. So maybe the level of production that you have now is, 20 years ago would take 3 or 4 days. Now it takes 3 or 4 hours. Now look at all the free time you have. So I don't know, but I know it's a problem.
So using your phone before sleeping is bad for multiple reasons. Just to sum up, your brain's supposed to be winding down, but actually it's like you're just reigniting the motor.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to be harder to fall asleep. The blue light, or any light for that matter, is going to suppress, if that's the correct term to use, your melatonin, which is the thing that's going to help you sleep. And also you can put yourself in this addictive loop that before you know it, you've just spent, I guess even cutting off your sleep time by half an hour can be detrimental. Let alone 2-3 hours.
Yeah, 100%.
So for all these reasons, you should, not be using your phone before you sleep. And you mentioned maybe even an hour or two before bedtime, you
just put it away.
You put it away.
You don't need it. Yeah,
you don't need it. But what about waking up? What is there anything good or bad about using your phone immediately when you get up, or should you, for example, experience the day without the phone and then maybe come to it after?
I don't have a good answer. I don't know. It's probably philosophic that ideally, the first thing you should do is not open the phone. I'm on call I'm a doctor, I'm on call, and I get 100, texts, doc, this patient is this is going on. So yeah, the first thing I do is look at the phone. But ideally, no. I mean, ideally you go and, walk, have breakfast, do anything. I don't know what the harm is related to sleep. So I think as long as you're lifting the phone and there's a purpose, you're not just looking at Instagram. Yeah, I think it's fine. You probably get a lot of texts for the podcast. Yeah, fine. You're starting your day, and it starts with what's on store for the day.
So what I found, because I'm a very, very morning person, and I like to get my deep work done in the morning, and I have a very, what I would like to think, optimized morning routine. For me personally, I noticed and again, I don't know if it's connected to sleep, but productivity definitely. If I use my phone early in the morning, it's cutting in. It's doing the same thing where at night when I'm using it for I'm just going to check my emails, I'm in and out. You end up being there for an hour and it cuts into your sleep. In the morning, it might not cut into my sleep because I'm awake, but it cuts into my productivity time. So what's been really useful for me is I set my Opal app to keep the apps blocked until my first block in my calendar. So I'm forced to start work, and that's when...
Then you open it.
That's when the app opens. But at that time, I'm already in work.
Yeah.
I'm already in work mode. As opposed to if I use my app before, that working block could just get pushed further down the day.
I don't know, man. This darn work stuff. I mean, it's a hard one. It's such a hard one. We have to figure this out. I definitely think this is not something that is sustainable. But I can only imagine with AI and all that, now, you can maybe, your phone will be like your partner. You say, hey, I need to do this, and this, like your personal robot. Maybe all these problems go away. Your robot will tell you, this is what you're doing today. And maybe it'll be a good thing. Maybe it'll be a bad thing. But if you have a plan, if you have a purpose, if you are kind of knowing what you're doing, I think there's no right or wrong answer for this one. Delaying your sleep is a problem. It's unhealthy. It's a problem. It can really affect your emotional ability to grow, your health, your physical ability. Definitely that is a problem. You don't want to scroll right before you go to sleep. When you first wake up, I don't know. You decide.
Barakallah feek. So a question that my wife asked me to ask you. So she and I, sleep is a big, problem for us in our house. So we both used to sleep very late, and there'd be times when we would sleep at Fajr time. We'd be awake all night.
Right.
I've always been an entrepreneur, so I've had my own schedule, and I never had to, get up and be at work at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Lucky.
But for almost a decade, I mean, that's what I did. I just went to sleep whenever. I've recently, about 2 years ago, started to take my sleep very seriously. I realized this is a massive problem and I need to fix it. All of the health benefits and harms to health were very alarming. The correlation between that and the mortality rate being high, and productivity in general, all of these things. And I have to be active in the morning. I have to get up as early as possible and be fresh. My wife, she struggles to get to sleep on time. We have this big issue. And her point is this, and this was her question, is that she gets very anxious when it comes to bedtime. She'll start thinking about the next day and whatnot and so on and so forth. And then that results in her just staying awake. So she could be in bed, but she's not able to go to sleep because she's just getting anxious.
Right.
And she's felt like she's always been this way since being a child.
Yeah.
And what she ends up doing is staying awake at night, doing chores. And she says, the reason why I'm doing these chores is not because I'm trying to keep the house clean. I mean, it is partly that, but also because it's soothing for her.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah, and she loves being awake at night because for her it's the most relaxing time of day. And what happens to her, and she's not scrolling, but she'll just be like coloring. She likes the color. It like soothes her, but she'll be awake for 3-4 hours.
Yikes. Yeah. I mean, interesting. It's so interesting how a lot of times I will get men who say, I can't fall asleep, maintain sleep. And I don't know what they do. They scroll, they roll in bed, they eat. I get women, they'll vacuum, they'll wash the dishes. It's very, very common thing to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they'll say it is comforting for them. Yeah. Your priority has to be the sleep. That's coming from the sleep doctor. Your priority has to be sleeping, especially if you have kids. I don't know how you function. I don't know how, mashallah, mothers function, period, when they have babies and all that. But you have to decide, that your bedtime is your bedtime. Now, anxiety is very common. So the anxiety thing has to be addressed, right? The sleep is not the problem. It's the anxiety. So she has to address the anxiety. And, she and a million other women have the same issues, that they're worried about what's going to happen the next day, how to plan. The most common recommendation is journaling. Instead of coloring, instead of doing anything, take a piece of paper, put down all of your thoughts on that piece of paper. Now, this is way back in 2010, 2011 when I did my fellowship. I don't know what's changed because I don't remember updating myself on these studies, but women benefited the most from journaling more than men.
Very interesting.
So when they take everything here and put it on a piece of paper, then it's no longer running here. And then managing your anxiety is very important, right? And that's a skill that sometimes you need, I'm not saying there's any need for therapy, but I learned it in therapy, is the idea of, okay, here are all my thoughts, right? Here are all my thoughts running around. Okay, well, I have to take my son to get a haircut. I have my daughter who we got her a new car. We have to figure out some things about the car and maybe get it washed. I have my wife who, is making dinner. I have all these things that I'm, thinking about, but that takes me away from you, right? So you have to learn the skill of, okay, I have all of these things in mind. Put it in a box, put it aside, put it in a box, put it aside. And right now is not the time to open it up, that box, right? That box, my son getting a haircut, for example, no, that box will be opened after this conversation is finished, right? It's in my mind, but I can't keep it running. So there's this idea, some people say overthinking. Overthinking is an actual diagnosable thing in psychology, but I read a lot of people who don't believe in overthinking. They call it inefficient thinking, right? Where you have all of these thoughts and you have to kind of come to a conclusion with each thought and then move on. And a lot of people don't have that ability, right? Oh my gosh, what if this happens? Oh my gosh, anxiety, right? Anxiety about the future. What can you do about it? Nothing. Okay, then don't think about it, right? Let it go.
How do you stop thinking about it? Is the act of journaling something that helps you to stop thinking about it because you've taken it out of your mind and put it on paper?
Yeah. I think you take it out of your mind, you put it on paper. There's something about that is cathartic. And at the end of the day, that's what you need. You need to just take it out of your body. And then there's skills that you have to learn. And so delaying sleep. So see, when you people have a sleep problem, doctor, I have insomnia, I can't fall asleep. There's so many different reasons for it. Some people, because they're just so busy trying to focus on the next day. Well, the next day you have no control or power over it. So let it go. Try to plan and just wait till that day comes. There's this idea of, you can't change the past. You can't do anything about the future. So focus on, being grateful for the now. Okay, I have a bed. It's nighttime. It's a safe place. Time for me to sleep. And, if you can do that, you and the king are the same.
Oh, wow. You and the king are the same.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. So are you saying it's more harmful to just do the chores at night and do all that stuff?
It is
than
because,
to sleep?
because you're supposed to be sleeping. You're supposed to be. And if you're like single and you don't have a job the next day, maybe the harm is mitigated because you could just sleep all day. But most of us have social pressures and we have to sleep because the next day we have to be present for other people.
So the thing about my wife is that, so she will get her 8 hours in, right? Because, she'll go back to sleep after Fajr. But she's always tired and more tired than me.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm tired, but then I'll snap out of it. Like once I do a few things, like I'll snap out of it. With her, she's tired the whole day. So is there something about the sleep at night is just more optimal than sleep during day?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is more optimal. I think just because of what we talked about, our circadian rhythm, our body demands it.
Yeah.
And our body demands it because it's entrenched. It's now where our brain is programmed. Around 5-6 years old, our brain is fully programmed to sleep at night and be awake during the day. Okay? And naps are not even necessary anymore, theoretically. So of course, naps are nice, and I'm not against naps, but so now you have a program in your brain to sleep in the night and wake up in the day, and you're fighting that program. You're fighting it. And so you're going to create damage. You're going to create mental damage. And so she's fatigued. She's tired. She's anxious. She's stressed. God bless her. But the idea is maybe if you slept well and you kept a regular sleep schedule, you'll find that all of those other feelings and emotions will be also less.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
I've been saying, I think if you fix your sleep, everything else, it will just fall into place.
I think so. I think so. I'm going to do one thing because you're going to have to forgive me.
No, please.
I have to pay my parking before they charge me 400 dirhams.
So free. So free.
Yeah, no, it's important.
Is it done, sir?
Yeah, it's all done. You just press Y and then it's done.
Oh.
This is
Dubai.
This is Dubai. It's so easy.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, no, but I, people much, much, much smarter than me would talk to you about how the lack of sleep affects your emotionality and your emotions. And there is a direct connection. I think there was a question a couple days ago about soldiers who, maybe when they don't sleep, they're better soldiers. And I actually thought about that. I gave an answer. I said, no, what's it called? I would rather a soldier have good sleep. Well, now I might change my mind because your aggressions are much less in control. You're much less in control of your aggressions as a person who has lack of sleep. You're less in control. So you're much more violent and aggressive if you don't sleep very well. So maybe those soldiers really are better off when they don't sleep. Their just ability to fight. And I don't want people to fight and kill each other. It's not kind of my thing. But the idea is, it's true. Like, what is it? If I was a neurologist, I'd remember everything. But there's something called the prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain where you control your brain, your emotions, you regulate your emotion, amygdala and prefrontal cortex. Well, that communication's so weak. So I can trigger you very easily if you didn't sleep very well. Whereas if you slept well, it's harder to trigger you.
Very interesting. I find it very easy for myself to get triggered when I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that my cognitive resilience is just so weak if I'm awake when I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you think there's a direct link there?
100% direct link, 100%. It's the lack of REM sleep for sure, because we have now studies to kind of back that up. And your ability to regulate yourself, regulate your emotions, traumatize yourself and traumatize others is much higher when you're not sleeping very well. Yeah.
Are there any positions that are optimal to sleep in?
Your side, I would say. I would say your side, right side or left side. I don't know one is better than the other. Your back, if you have sleep apnea, your back is a bad place to be. And the prone position, which is on your stomach, I don't know. There's a lot of evidence to show that it might have effect on your back, on your your kinesiology, the way your body moves. But I don't know enough to tell you the stomach is good or bad. I hear religiously that it's not a good position, but your side, right or left side, is your best position.
And why is on your side the best position?
I think because your airways are nice and open, and it's harder to have a breathing issue. Like if you're having sleep apnea, although if you have sleep apnea, you'll have it on your side as well as your back, but it's just much more pronounced on your back.
So why is the breathing important? How's that beneficial for me when I'm sleeping? The ability to breathe better.
So when you're going to sleep, right, your muscles relax, right? So when your muscles relax, your airways narrow. So when you're sleeping on your back, your airways are just narrowed on both sides. Now, if you're kind of on one side, right, you're putting most of the pressure here. So this bottom part will kind of narrow, but this stays a bit more open because air is moving. That's kind of the theory. And so the idea is that you're able to move in your lungs and in your airways themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, the collapsibility of your airways is just a lot less.
Wow.
It's just interesting.
And why is that? Why is it good for me to have my airways,
Open because you're breathing. I mean, you're breathing.
What does breathing have to do with sleep?
Yeah, I mean, your breath, your physiology changes, right? It's so interesting. Your brain waves change. Your muscles are relaxed. You're and paralyzed during REM sleep. Your heart rate goes down. Your blood pressure should go down. So there's so much that is changing, right? Your hormones are changing. We talked about the hormones are changing. So there's so much about your sleep that is not like when you're awake. And so you want optimal heartbeats. You want optimal breathing, optimal oxygenation.
Because it's dangerous, you're saying. It can be dangerous.
Obviously, well, I mean, it's obvious to us, Is there enough studies for long-term to prove everything? No, but it seems like a great correlation. Men who have sleep apnea in their 30s and 40s are much higher likelihood of having heart disease. In fact, when I have a patient who has sleep apnea, I make sure he sees a cardiologist. I just want to be sure that he's not having any other issues. So we know that these are things that are stuff you want to worry about. Now, people who have sleep disordered breathing or don't sleep very well also have complications in diabetes. Well, why is that exactly? Well, we have a lot of theories behind it, but their blood sugar is more out of control. They're higher risk of stroke. They're higher risk of all these things. So there's a lot we really haven't studied enough, and there's a lot to build off of our knowledge of sleep because it's only really been studied well in the past 25, 30 years. Whereas like heart disease has been studied for well over 100 years, and even more than that. But I mean, the things we know about, our stomachs and our brains are much, much more intense than what we know about our sleep. You started with third of our lives is sleep, and we don't really understand it very well.
But doctor, why is that? Because, one thing that I've come to know recently is that, sleep is just so pivotal and it helps solve so many problems. It helps, prevent, heart conditions, heart disease, I think Alzheimer's as well, and, emotional regulation, all of these amazing things. But I've never heard a doctor other than yourself say to me, Imran, you should sleep. Maybe you should get some sleep. I've only ever heard that from podcasters.
Yeah. Well, I think lately it's become a fad, and I'm hoping that it stays that way. But 100% that should be one of our number one recommendations to our patients. How is it when you're sleeping? Are you sleeping okay? I think just that simple question by every physician, it should be asked.
Should be asked. Huh?
Should be asked, because you get so much information out the patient when they say, I'm not sleeping very well. Yeah.
But because it sounds like sleep is more important than diet. Because you mentioned if you deprive like a cat of sleep for 2 days, it will die. But, likewise, a human being doesn't sleep for a night or two and he starts to go all over the place. It's torture, you said. But someone can go without food,
for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Sadly. But yeah, you can't. Your sleep, look, I don't want to put it as a hierarchy of food and sleep and exercise. But if you don't treat your sleep like you treat your body, like for exercise, you're messing with your brain. You're messing with your, physical health at the end of the day. Your sleep is just as important as your exercise.
I want to talk about temperature. So there seems to be some type of link between the temperature in the room and the quality of your sleep. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, look, the temperature, your body regulates itself. We talked about the circadian rhythm. One of the things, I think I'm going to have to read more about this because I might be forgetting, but your body cools itself down, right? When you start to feel sleepy, the adenosine in your body builds up, melatonin builds up, your body starts to cool itself down 1 or 2 degrees. Why? Because it's the temperature that you need to fall asleep. So when the room is cool, it kind of takes the job away from the body. And when your body is cool, then you are more likely to sleep. Now, why is the optimal temperature that? I don't know. I can't give you a real clear explanation. But I can only imagine, this is what our cells need when they want to rejuvenate themselves, when you want to recover. You want to cool them down. I think when you're hot, when you're burning, there's too much inertia in your body. Things are moving, and you want things to slow down, right? Something that's ice cold, it's not moving. Something that is hot, it's bubbling. So something about that is real. And it's so interesting that you cool down and your lowest temperature is around 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And your highest temperature is about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So your body heats up to wake you up. Say, Yalla, get up.
Is there any correlation between, or is there anything about the optimal time for one to be intimate with their spouse? Usually people do it at night, and this also takes away from their sleep time. And, I feel like there's a culture around it being at night. I was reading from Imran Ibn Qayyim, actually, one of the great scholars. He mentioned that actually the scholars mentioned a great time to be intimate is during the day. And they said, because the night is for sleep. And then he used that, he brought the ayah. And the Prophet ﷺ, he would, there's evidence to show that he would have intimacy with his spouses after Asr time and so on and so forth. If I'm not mistaken, someone can double check me on that. But it makes sense to me conceptually, right? Because, usually it's not going to be a quick thing. A person has to warm their spouse up to it and then do the action. And then after that, there's, that cuddle time that usually
is work.
It's work. It's work.
Yeah.
So I find the cognitive load of that just so high. And then sometimes what happens is that people then just stop being intimate. And then that creates all these different issues inside of the marriage and the relationship as well. So I wonder, is there anything in the scientific literature that talks about this? And what would your advice be in this regard?
Gosh, I'm the worst guy to ask about this one. I have no idea. I can tell you that morning seems to be the best time, early in the morning.
For intimacy.
For intimacy. Just only because I think that's when you're feeling the most refreshed. And can we pause for a second?
Yeah, of course we can.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sorry.
No problem.
Hey, Baba. Bob? Wa alaikum salam. Bob, can you take a taxi to Ghazal Mall? Can you go? Okay. All right. I'm running late, unfortunately. Okay. All right. Thanks, Habib. Yalla, ma salama. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we need to wrap up. We can wrap up.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if he gets his hair, he's old enough. He's 16. Yeah, well, maybe 15 more minutes.
Okay,
that's all right. So we talked about stage 3 sleep. Stage 3 sleep, your body washes itself in testosterone. When you're a 10-year-old, 11-year-old boy, your brain starts to increase the amount of stage 3 sleep, delta sleep. And this is the early morning, early in your sleep, right? Now, instead of 10, 15% of your sleep delta, it's 35% delta sleep, stage 3. Your body's awash in growth hormone and testosterone. And, most kids going through puberty will remember those days. They get up, they're excited. They just have energy that they didn't have before. And that's true for a lot of people. Even as we get older, even when our stage 3 sleep is reduced, maybe 10, 15%, that's the time if I woke you up at that time, usually that's kind of the feeling you might potentially have. Not guaranteed. I don't know. Everybody's different.
Do you mean arousal? Like
you're
sexual
aroused.
arousal?
You're
Yes,
aroused.
yes.
You're sexually aroused. And so it might be that time.
That makes so much sense.
And
It's
then,
because of the testosterone that's being released at stage 3 sleep time.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And then I think about society and how there's so many things out there that kind of gets us distracted. For men, we're very visual people. And so it's nice, I think, to have it out of your system in the morning. So for me, I work. I have to wake up in the morning and I have to go during the day. I have to, So, I mean, I think it depends on the person and their lifestyle and what their world is about, and kind of, I don't think there is an optimal time. I just think it's when you're feeling connected. And I think, it's outside of sleep medicine, but it's just a necessary thing.
Finally, I want to talk about coffee. So some people will say, look, I can drink coffee and go straight to sleep. But I heard that that's still bad for you.
Yeah.
Because the caffeine, it blocks the adenosine. Adenosine and stuff like that. So what is let's just say I want to sleep at 10 p.m. at night. What's the last time I should be drinking a cup of coffee?
So it doesn't just block the adenosine. It also kind of limits certain stages of sleep, caffeine. It all really depends on the person themselves. Some people, let's assume that coffee does block the adenosine fully for you and you want to fall asleep. The half-life of caffeine is about 8 to 12 hours.
Okay.
So I drank a cup of coffee, and the effect of caffeine, let's say I drank it like 10 o'clock in the morning, its effect still is there in my body, caffeine, probably 6 to 8 o'clock at night. Some people, no, it passes through them in 4 or 5 hours. Some people, kind of the level of, receptors in their brain is so much higher that it doesn't affect them as much. So there are people who are different. But you don't want to give yourself a stimulant before you sleep because it does affect your ability to fall asleep. Just like you don't want to get people to drink alcohol. Alcohol actually makes you sleepy. And it actually consolidates your sleep. Now, I get it. We're Muslimin. In general, we don't drink. I do not drink. But the idea is there that the caffeine wears out. And now your body is going back to regulating its normal system. So now you drank coffee, you fell asleep, you blocked that adenosine, but the adenosine didn't do its job. So now either your body's going to remove it or it's going to now hit you in the middle of the day the next day. You might be sleepy all of a sudden when you're not supposed to be sleepy. So if you're a coffee drinker and a caffeine drinker and you sleep and you have no sleep complaints, it's hard for me to tell you don't do it. But if I was to talk about the ideal, no, your last cup of coffee should be maximum 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Because some people might, I think the issue here is what I used to do. You okay, bro? What used to happen to me was I would not be cognizant of the effects of caffeine, but then obviously I'm not aware of what's happening to me on a neurological level. I'm not aware of what's happening to the adenosine and all of these other things.
Yeah.
So just because you can't feel the effect doesn't mean that the effect is not there.
No, it is definitely there. It is definitely there.
So 1 p.m. is the cutoff time.
I would say so. Listen, substances are substances. I hate the fact that it's in drinks like colas and such, that children consume all this caffeine. I mean, there is some evidence that it kind of affects the development, the emotional development of children. I don't know if it's true or not. I didn't study it enough to say, but it is a substance. It is a substance that, you want to limit and control. Now, it's been in our culture for centuries, like Arab culture, for sure. So, I mean, it's hard to kind of tell people what to do and what not to do if they're living their life and they're fine and they're not complaining. But at the end of the day, if you're complaining about your sleep, don't drink the coffee.
What's the one important thing about sleep that we haven't discussed that we should have?
I mean, we discussed, if I were to say what's the most important thing about sleep is to, keep a good sleep schedule and make sure that you're doing it. But we discussed that, I mean, I don't know, emotional effects of sleep. I think we've hit all the right notes. I think it was a pretty complete conversation. I don't know. I if I were to leave anybody with a message, and I think this message is becoming louder and clearer throughout all of our societies, is that treat it seriously. Your sleep is no joke. It is very important. And it is not a badge of honor that you lack sleep or you don't sleep, because it is directly linked to your health and well-being, 100%. Emotional well-being, physical well-being. So, take care of your sleep, treat it like a job, treat it like it's important, and I think you'll reap the rewards.
Barakallah feek. Sorry, doctor, I know I said last question 2 questions ago, but I might have 1 or 2 more. Before we began, you mentioned that as a doctor, you had like a statement, which is to help cure the sick and to treat social injustice. What was that?
It was a save lives, stomp out disease, and cure social injustice.
So, in a day and age where the medical profession, alongside a lot of other professions, has kind of just become something where, I guess, the moral value is kind of not as high as it was amongst the practitioners. Why have you kind of maintained that moral integrity in your profession?
I think we have to have a sense of purpose in what we do. And we stray from that all the time. So how do you come back to it? Well, you have to remember. You have to kind of remember what your purpose is, what your goals are, because there's a lot of distractors, right? I can tell you all the time, the politics of being in the hospital and dealing with all these different personalities. It's very, very hard. So you get, one day you're angry, something bad happened, something good happened. You kind of have to take yourself back to what your purpose is. And you then tell yourself, am I fulfilling that purpose? Is it worth it? Is it necessary? And it centers you. It centers you. So when you have a goal, when you have a mission statement in your life, and you can go back to that mission statement, right? Of course, for us, it's living life, with Allah's pleasure. But, one step down is that idea that what is the work I'm doing and what's its value? I think for me, it's very centering and it's very focusing, right? Because there's so many distractors, right? There's so many things I want to do, right? But I have kids. Well, what am I? Am I a father? Okay, I am a father. I am, XYZ's father. Okay, now I'm identifying myself and identifying the role and prioritizing that. So then I say, okay, well, I want to trip to Australia. I want to be a traveler. Well, you know what? I want to be a father first. So I think a lot of that is what I base things on. So, have a mission statement for yourself and a purpose for yourself. Of course, attach it all for the pleasure of Allah. And I think it helps. I think it really, really helps you. And by the way, this is a mission statement from one of my trainers that I stole. But if I can remember their name, I would tell you their name. But it's not just me. It's other people who've said it. But it's a beautiful one. It really helps you understand your purpose as a doctor. Yeah, it's very important.
What are you currently reading? You mentioned you're addicted.
Oh my gosh, it's AI, and it's on audiobooks, because the older I get, the worse my vision. So alhamdulillah for that. But if you want to know what I'm listening to, and it's really interesting, and I think might be good for everybody. Sorry, man. If I told you how much... Okay, so AI 2041 is the book that I'm listening to. It's by Kai Fu Lee.
Okay.
And it's about how AI is literally changed. I mean, the guy wrote this book 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it takes you about how AI is going to be affecting each aspect of our lives.
Oh, wow.
AI 2041, Kai Fu Lee. Why can I not remember his name? I have no idea.
The last question, I always like to ask this question to people that are avid readers. What's been, and I'm not talking about religious books here, because of course the answer is going to be the Quran, but what's been the most impactful and life-changing book for you?
Okay, there are two.
Okay.
One is called The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I don't know why it affected me so much. And it's about this nameless father and his nameless son. And it's like the end of the world. And, you know, you can imagine what's going on in the world right now and how this specific story is so powerful. And it's just a horrible society, and people are eating each other and killing each other. And this father has hope for his son, and he takes him down a road that he doesn't know they'll survive. And I don't know why it really affected me emotionally, but it's The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And then there is another book called...
Before you move on to it, sorry, what did you take from that book? What did you learn from it?
Love. The depth of love and hope that you have to never lose hope. And, I just wish, we had more Muslims writing like Cormac McCarthy, because it's so good, so good. At least for me. I mean, I would say that this father dedicated himself to his son and his potential for survival. And every once in and when I think of the news, I think of that book in particular.
Oh wow!
And it's a nonfiction book, and it's very dark. So if you're not good at reading dark books, don't read it. But it's a good one. And then the one is called The Anarchy, which is a history of the last Mughal Empire and how the
by Dalrymple?
William Dalrymple. I think I've told 1 million people this book, and I will repeat it 1,000 times. This is so good. Because the East India Company, it's been like over a year that I've listened to it, not read it, but I at least 5 different times I've listened to it.
In the last
cover to cover, in like maybe 2023, 2024. You see history, and the guy, he tells history like it's a story. Because I think one of the things about religion itself, and just like there's a guy on YouTube, his name, he does Al-Muqaddimah, and he tried to give Islamic history in a secular way. And I think it's just so important, because I think it's important to see things not from our rose-colored glasses, because I will always see the dunya from my Islam-colored glasses, but it's important to take those glasses off, and somebody needs to do it for you. And the guy, his name is Al-Muqaddim. This guy does that. He gives a very, very complete, very thorough picture of how the Mughals rose and how they fell, and how the East India Company rose and how it was allowed to happen. And William Dalrymple is a historian. I mean, the guy fact checks everything and tells the story very, very well. I mean, it's just so good. You know what? There's another book. Can I just look it up?
Please.
Oh gosh, this book, if I can just remember. See, the problem is I cannot remember every book. Tamim Ansari. You have to read this book. Tamim Ansari, Destiny Disrupted. Okay? Destiny Disrupted. It's about Afghanistan. And this guy who left Afghanistan and it basically talks about Islamic history and where Islamic history would be if it wasn't for all the colonizers and the British and all that kind of 100% beautiful book. Tamim Ansari. I wish I can remember these people better because, you know, it makes me realize how old I'm getting. But Tamim Ansari, William Dalrymple, Cormac McCarthy. I mean, there's so many great ways. So those books, and mashallah, more books, but they resonate. They play in my head. I wish I could read more books about making money and getting rich, but I get bored really quickly. But these books, they'll keep me awake at night. I mean, they're good. They're Tamim Ansari, Destiny Disrupted. Oh, I can't believe I didn't mention that one. 100% you should read that book. Or audiobook it. Because now I don't want to, you know, these are bifocals. I have to like read like this. So no, I listen and they're really good. Yeah.
Dr. Fawzi, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I'm really just so grateful to you after being thankful to Allah Azza wa Jal that you've come out. I know it's not easy to put yourself out in the public and, you know, share all of these advices that I have no doubt are going to be life-changing for some of our viewers.
I hope so.
Ta'ala. And I really would just want to encourage other Muslims who are professionals, who are subject matter experts in these topics that are just so necessary for people in general and specifically for us and our community to come out and hopefully follow your example. And I genuinely feel a sense of actual concern in your words, in your speech, in your style, in your delivery. Like I sense that you have a care for people and you want them to really benefit. And we don't always necessarily feel that from people with a medical background. You know, sometimes it does sometimes just feel like they're just trying to make a dollar of us.
Yeah, that's why.
But I'm very grateful to you, and hopefully this will not be your last time here on this podcast.
Wallahi, it was my pleasure. I really did enjoy it.
Barakallah feek. Barakallah feek. With that said, I'm going to encourage everyone to engage with your social media. We'll put the links below. If people have any questions, they can get in touch with you and ask directly. And till next time, inshallah, guys, we'll see you next week for another episode of the Righteous and Rich podcast. With that said, God love you and leave you. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.